afternoon, everyone, and welcome to FedEx Masterclass Online. As FedEx gears up towards a bigger, better, and bolder presence here in the Philippines, we are setting up programs so we can continue to support you and educate you in areas essential to your businesses. From knowing what documents to prepare for your shipments to how you can benefit from our automation tools, there is no doubt that it pays to have a better understanding on how to ship with FedEx. That's why today we bring you webinar versions of our workshops with FedEx Masterclass Online. My name is Adrian. I would be your moderator for today's webinar. And of course, we understand that for some of us, attending webinars is quite a challenge, especially dun sa mga nag-work from home sa atin, no? So we will try our best to put fun in learning by bringing in some games and prizes for you this afternoon. Today, we also acknowledge our friends from the Department of Trade and Industry. They are joining us to help educate our customers and will be part of our chat buddies for this afternoon. So we'd like to acknowledge the presence of the following. We have Attorney Janice Sacedon Di Mayakyak, OIC Director of the STMO or the Strategic Trade Management Office. Ms. Regina Samantha Castro, OIC Policy and Enterprise Relations Division. John Derek Anchinges, Policy and Enterprise Relations Division. Ms. Alethea Bravo, Registration and Authorization Division. And Mr. Archie John Talawe, Investigation and Compliance Division. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat from DTI. Later on, we'll also introduce our speaker for today. But before we proceed with our session, one of our team members from the clearance team will greet and welcome you for today's webinar. So please welcome our Customs Regulatory Advisor, Mr. Ferdy Legaspi. Ferdy?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Ferdy. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So we would like to welcome you to this FedEx Masterclass session about the Republic Act 10697, otherwise known as the Strategic Trade Management Act. We organized this session because we wanted everyone to be aware of the DTI STMO announcement number 2022-001 dated August 8, stating no STMO authorization, no export of strategic goods. Some of you may have heard of this for the first time. Some already are aware, but at a loss on how to go about it, and are probably actively doing their registration. So in this session, what we hope to achieve is for you to start engaging and or continue to engage the DTI STMO office to ensure proper guidance to avoid delays in the export of our shipments and avoid also possible fines. Let us not assume that our our shipments are not covered by the strategic goods, but rather verify with the STMO to avoid last-minute registration. Well, we all know that it's almost mid of October. Christmas is just around the corner, and by the time we notice, it's already 2023, and that is already the implementation of this DTI guidelines. So we also wanted to know the DTI, STMO, and the Bureau of Customs under the leadership of Collector Alexandra Y. Lumuntad to know that FedEx is your strategic partner in the implementation and compliance with the STMA. We are going to reach to as many customers as possible because we are confident that you will extend all possible assistance to our customers securing the authorization and the exportation of shipments. So we welcome you. Stay interested on this because this is quite large implementation being undertaken by the DTI STMO office. So good afternoon again.
All right, thank you so much, Freddie, for introducing our topic and for welcoming our participants for today's webinar. All right, you can also tag us on FedEx on your social media updates by using hashtags Pinastrong, hashtag masterclass online, and hashtag stay home with Deliver. If you haven't followed us on Facebook, you can always look us up at FedEx APAC, so you can like or follow us on our official page. And I know there would be a lot of questions for today's session, so inaabangan na namin yan. So feel free to share them using our Q&A box or our chat box. And we have our chat buddies from the DTI STMO and also from FedEx teams to support you and are on standby to answer your questions. So joining us from clearance team for today, we have Marlon, RM, Jericho, Mark, Aubrey, Beverly, Camille, Daryl, Jeannie, Mark, Miyaka, Jerome, Joselito, and Mitch. And we also have Alan, Lisa, and Harleen from sales, all able to answer your questions if you have any during our program. And of course, just a little quick walkthrough of our program overview for today. So yeah, we'll be doing the overview of the STMA, classification of the strategic goods, the regulatory process and implementation, some FAQs, and later on we'll also have some Q&A. And before you know it, at 3 o'clock, we're already wrapping up our webinar. Yan, di ba? Sobrang bilis lamang po. So kapit lang po and listen to our guest speaker for today. So today's workshop will surely help us understand more about the implementation of the Strategic Trade Management Act, or STMA. Joining us this afternoon as our guest speaker is a trade industry development specialist from the Department of Trade and Industry under the Strategic Trade Management Office, or STMO, and the Policy and Enterprise Relations Division. She is also a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Electronic Communications and Engineering at Technological University of the Philippines. Everyone, please welcome Ms. Rowena Ruadil Lipata. Ms. Rowena. Ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Sir Adrian, for that introduction.
Thank you, Ms. Rowena.
We also, the STMO also thank the FedEx for organizing this event. Wait, I'll just share my screen.
Yes, confirming we can see the screen now, ma'am.
Okay. So again, good afternoon, everyone. I will be presenting the Republic Act 10697, also known as the Strategic Trade Management Act. With this presentation, you will become aware on the reason why we have this law in effect today. So the first question in mind would be, what is STMA? The STMA is a Republic Act preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, or the WMD, by managing trade in strategic goods. RA 10697 was enacted in November 2015, and this is the legal mechanism in the Philippines which meant to fulfill its international obligation and also to facilitate trade and investment through the responsible management of strategic goods trade. Next is, what is WMD, or weapons of mass destruction? WMD is a class of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear weapons capable of inflicting massive destruction on human life, infrastructure, and the environment. If you are paying attention to recent news about the North Korea launch of test missiles, that is exactly the type of goods that STM is trying to prevent to be developed. Missiles are delivery systems of various weapons of mass destruction, which continue to pose a threat in international peace and stability. As indicated in this slide, WMD is a class of first chemical weapons. Chemical weapons are already present even during the time of World War I. These weapons basically consisted of well-known commercial chemicals put into standard munitions such as grenades and artillery shells. Example of which are mustard gas and sarin gas, which was used during the Syrian Civil War. Second, it is also involves biological weapons, example of which are anthrax and smallpox. Just to give a background, during the World War II, the Japanese military killed thousands of Chinese prisoners by subjecting them to experimental doses of anthrax, cholera, plague, and other pathogens. Evidence also exists of a deliberate tularemia, a rabbit fever, attack by Soviet forces against German troops in 1942. Although some experts say that this incident never occurred. And third, nuclear weapons, which presents two dangers: the damage created by the explosion itself and its released radiation and the radioactive material that would remain after the explosion. Basically, these weapons are capable enough to create missile and indiscriminate destructions on human life, infrastructure, and the environment. Next is, how would we know if the item is a strategic good? Strategic goods, by definitions, are goods, software, and technology that can be used in developing WMDs and conventional arms. Moreover, to simplify, these items are listed and within the specifications stated in the National Strategic Goods List, or the NSGL. The National Strategic Goods List consists of 3 annexes, as you can see in the screen. Annex 1 are military goods, Annex 2, the dual-use goods, and Annex 3 are nationally controlled goods. On top of the 3 annexes is a catch-all control, provided by Section 11 of the STMA. The provision states that even if an item is not listed in the aforementioned NSGL annexes, a transaction may still be subjected to STMO licensing if the specific goods being exported carries with it a WMD or military end-use risk. All of these annexes will be further elaborated on the next slides. So first, we have the Annex 1. It contains military goods which refer to items that are specifically designed for military end use. Examples of items you will see in the list are assault weapons, military ordnance, armored vehicles, military aircraft, warships, and submarines. Second is the Annex 2, which is intended for both military and civilian end use. Example of these items are UAVs or unmanned aerial vehicles. This is commonly used for agricultural spraying, photography, search and rescue, and surveillance. However, even the small AUVs could also be used to deliver chemical or biological payloads to precise locations. Next example of strategic goods is the digital converter. These are electronic components being used by the aviation and aerospace industries for their GPS or global positioning system and the satellite systems. But it can also be installed to guide missile systems. Another example is the machine tools. In general, every type of industry, whether manufacturing, automotive, electronics, and others, use machine tools. Certain types of machine tools, such as professional multifunctional CNC milling lathe machines, can be used to manufacture nuclear weapon device components. Another dual-use goods are chemicals, example of which is hydrogen cyanide, used in manufacturing nylon and may be found in dyes and pigments. It is a potent toxic agent and may be used to make a nerve agent called tabun, which is an extremely toxic compound. Another chemical is a phosphorus trichloride. It is used to produce lubricants and pesticides. It's a precursor to chemicals that can be used to make a nerve agent VX. It is a chemical that disrupts a body's nervous system to a lethal effect. Another one is the carbon fiber, which is used in aircrafts, race cars, and sporting equipment like the tennis rackets, golf clubs, archery arrows, and bows. But these are also used to make rotors for uranium enrichment gas centrifuge machines, or as systematic components for missiles. Capacitors or condensers are also dual-use goods, which are typically used for energy storage, but these are actually key components of nuclear weapon firing sets. So the third annex is the Annex 3, which consists of items or conditions on the purpose of national security, foreign policy, and public safety. NSGL Annex 3 establishes export controls for the trade of certain products to and from North Korea and Iran. And the rationale for this lies on UNSCR 1718 for DPRK and UNSCR 2231 for Iran. Example of this includes coal, high-speed cameras and sensors, jewelry, and petroleum. However, it is important to note that there are items not listed in the NSGL but are subject to authorization by the STMO. These items are covered in the catch-all provision under the Section 11 of the STMA. So these conditions are, number 1, goods may be used in the acquisition or development of WMDs. Number 2, end user is subject to an international sanction or an arms embargo imposed by binding resolution of the UN Security Council. Number 3, exporter has been informed by the STMO that the goods may be used as a parts or components of military items in the NSGL that have been exported without a license. And number 4, exporter knows or suspects that the unlisted goods may be used for WMDs. So again, please take note that if your item or commodity or the commodity you are exporting is not under this list, you don't need to register to STMO. So here in the Philippines, the number 1 reason why we have this law in effect today is the UNSCR 1540, which is an international framework whereby UN member states commit to implement measures against the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. It serves as a long-standing, binding mechanism for countries to uphold the shared responsibilities against the threat of bad actors who try to acquire strategic goods in order to develop the WMDs. The STMA also created our office, the Strategic Trade Management Office, to carry out registration activities, issue or deny licenses, conduct risk assessments and commodity classification, conduct investigations, issue warning letters and order for corrective action, cooperate with other agencies, coordinate with the industry, and many others. The STMO currently adopts a phased implementation of its activities under the STMA. In 2020, STMO started authorizing the export of strategic goods. Nevertheless, the STMO targets to expand its regulation of STM activities and cover the import and provision of related services such as brokering, financing, transporting, technical assistance in the succeeding years. So import controls will be implemented the last. So for the regulatory process, the first step in the STMO is to self-classify. And to do this, you must refer to the NSGL or the National Strategic Goods List. Self-classification is exactly what it means, that companies are solely responsible in determining the product classification. But to do this, one may require an understanding or help from the company's technical experts on the item and familiarity on the structure and format of the NSGL. Another option is to go to the source. You can contact your manufacturer, producer, developer of the item, or even your parent company if you have one, and seek advice and have them classify your products. They can provide you the appropriate NSGL code if they had exported the items in the past from other countries with export controls. It is likely that they have this export control classification number, or the ECCN. So once you've already gone through the classification exercise and have come up with the correct NSGL classification, what you should do next is to go to STMO and to register. This is the prerequisite of export licensing. So to register, you will need to submit your requirements to the STMO, and STMO will process your application in the period of 30 calendar days. The list of requirements is enumerated at the back of the application form, which is downloadable on our website. After the registration process, you are now allowed to request for the export license or export authorization. So we have three types of authorization: the individual authorization, the global authorization, and the general authorization. So the individual authorization or individual license covers multiple strategic goods to be exported on one end user in another country, which is valid for 2 years. Next is the global authorization, which covers multiple strategic goods going to multiple end user or multiple countries of destination. This will facilitate the trading of multiple goods, and this is valid for 5 years. For the general authorization, we will determine certain types of goods, which is low risk but highly sensitive, going to certain countries of destination that you think is low risk because of robust export control system. You don't need to apply for this license since it will be just posted in our website. And the validity of this license is lifetime or until revoked by the STMO. An example of conditions under this is the export of repairs, return, and for exhibits. The STMO takes an important role in ensuring our stakeholders would not come across sanctions-related obstacles that could hamper their trade activities. The following the STMO actions in support of that objective. STMO has been regularly publishing sanctions advisories on our website. Our website tracks sanctions imposed unilaterally by sanctioned states, as well as by the UN Security Council. It is a useful resource for our trading stakeholders. In addition to this, we also provide them with guidelines on how to perform due diligence, which includes end-user or end-user checks, checking shipment routes, validating payment arrangements, and others. We publish several Know Your Customers brochures, so the risk of falling into sanctions traps when operating internationally could be mitigated. We also proactively identified which local companies have existing trading relationships with sanctioned countries. We have identified these companies and advised them accordingly. A thorough risk assessment checking or criteria for end-user assessment. And finally, regular coordination with other sanctions implementing agencies. Now let's go to the non-compliance risk. So violations of the STMA may be subjected to both criminal and administrative penalties. Under the STMA, criminal penalties can include up to 12 years of imprisonment and up to 5 million pesos per violation, or both. Violators may also be subjected to the denial of their export privileges. I just want to emphasize that the STMA or the law requires the exporter to be the primary responsible for your shipment. Therefore, any mistakes that the freight forwarder might make, exporter should be reliable for that mistake. So that ends my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miss Rowena, for sharing that wonderful presentation. No? And if you have any questions or if you have follow-ups, feel free to share them using our Q&A box, also our chat box. I can already see some questions coming in, but if you still have some, please do so. And before, while we are waiting for the rest of the questions to come in, we have prepared some questions coming from the usual or the frequently asked questions from our customers as well. So this afternoon, Ms. Rowena will be helping us to answer these questions. No, so just a recap. On question number 1, what is a Strategic Trade Management Act? So basahin ko na lang to, no? Para for everyone's reference. So STMA is a Republic Act preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, or WMD. So by managing a trade in strategic goods, the provision of related services, and for other purposes as well. Okay, so please take note of that. Next question, please. So question number 2, what are the strategic goods? So kindly give examples. Miss Rowena, if you have anything to add, please do so. No? So basahin ko na lang muna to. So strategic goods are goods or software and technology that can be used in developing WMDs and conventional arms. So these are compiled under the National Strategic Goods List, or NSGL, which has 3 annexes. So as mentioned earlier, number 1 is the military goods. Number 2 is the dual-use goods, and number 3 is the nationally controlled goods. And examples of these include drones, digital converters, machine tools, chemicals, and a lot more. Anything to add, Ms. Rowena, on this question, on question number 2?
You can also check our website. It was flashed by my colleague to the chat box, so you can click it, and then on our website you can see also the link for the strategic goods annex 1, 2, and annex 2.
All right, so for better guidance, best to visit the website. All right, okay. And then question number 3, so whom should I contact for further questions or concerns? So yeah, you may always contact the STMO, right? So using their email at stmoinfo@dti.gov.ph, or you can always reach them using their phone at 85293282. And of course, you can always visit their website to check the list of the goods listed in NSGL. So next question, please. Question number 4. So I am shipping strategic goods. What should I do? So as shared earlier, right? So the first thing to do is to confirm your product is a strategic good through the self-classification. And then you can always visit the website for better guidance. Second is to register your company with STMO. And of course, number 3 is to secure the export authorization. Okay? So I have a follow-up question for here, Ms. Weng. No? So of course, you're going to register and secure the authorization. Does this come with some fees that they need to prepare with ba? Ms. Weng?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
About the fee po ba, sir?
Yes, yes po.
No, sir. We are not requiring fees as of the moment, but I think in the near future po, we will have consider that.
All right. So all of the registration and the securing the export authorization is for free. Ayan, for everyone's guidance as well. Thank you, Ms. Weng. Question number 5, please. Okay, so how often do I need to register? All right, so as per the discussion earlier, you only need to register once. So registration is valid for a lifetime unless revoked by STMO. So you can always refer to MC 21-40 for more information. All right, and question number 6, please. Is there a website where I can check if I am shipping strategic goods? Yes, ayan, as mentioned earlier, meron. You can always visit dti.gov.ph/strategic trade for better guidance on the list. And then do we still have more questions? Question number 7, what will happen if I fail to register? Ayan, so medyo kailangan tayong kabahan sa part na to, no? So number 1, exporting strategic goods without a license from the STMO is a violation of RA 10697. So may violation na yan kaagad. And then it's also a violation of the law, may result in delays in shipments, fines, and criminal penalties. Ayan, in bold letters for better emphasis. Okay, so please do take note of that. We also have, I think we have one more question left. Oh yeah, that's it. All right, thank you so much. So right now, I think we still have some questions coming in on our chat box. I think we can read a few more since we still have time. Ms. Wing, please help us in answering these questions also. Thank you. So Yeah.
Also, Sir
Yes.
Adrian,
Yes, ma'am.
I have here my colleagues po to answer the other questions din po.
All right. Yes. That's also we'll also include the DTI team joining us this afternoon to answer some questions as well. Okay. So first up is at DTI team. But is this a new permit for export? So I think they are asking if they need if they have another export permit or license, is this a separate one that they need to secure?
Hi, Mr. Adrian.
Yes, yes, sir.
Right. This is JD. I'm from the Policy and Enterprise Relations Division, and I would like to address the question from Mr. Marco. So,
Yes.
to the question, is this a new permit for export? Actually, no, sir. We have already opened the registration phase for our exporters po in October 2019, and we have also started receiving applications for export authorization in July 20. So, yun po, we have spent the last few years reaching out to our industry stakeholders po and other pertinent companies, and joining them to, number one, confirm whether their product po are strategic or not. And should they find out that their products po are in fact strategic, then we require them to register with us and secure an authorization po. And yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Sir JD, for answering that question. No? I have a specific question coming in from our participants also. No? So number one is we are an exporter of rubber parts for camera and medical parts. Are these items part of the strategic goods list? Then follow-up question niya is there a specific HS code to determine whether the goods are strategic or not? So yun po. Anybody from the DTI team to help us answer this question?
I think I can also take this one, but my colleagues are free to pitch in din po. Anyway,
Alright, sure.
so how to verify po if a product is strategic or not, we actually encourage our clients to consult their technical personnel, for example, their engineers, chemists, and scientists po, to check the technical specifications of their items for export. They may do so by referring to the Memorandum Circular Guidelines of STMO on commodity classification. The primary reference po in determining whether a product is strategic good or not is the National Strategic Goods List. As mentioned by Ms. Weng, this NSGL po is available on our website. Actually, all of our forms and latest policy issuances and guidelines are also there. And so I think there's a second part to that question. Sir, sorry.
Yeah, the second question was, is there a specific HS code to help us determine whether the goods are strategic or not?
Yes, actually. Dun sa NSGL po, although hindi siya exactly HS code, meron siya mga correspondence. So, siguro for ease of reference, our primary material for this would be the MC guidelines on the the National Strategic Goods List, or the NSGL. No? Kasi we have appended there a list of common HS codes po that are exported po. So they can use that as reference po in determining whether their products po requires registration from us.
All right. So that for best guidance talaga, it's always best to visit the website for everybody's reference.
Yes, and siguro for ease of reference, I will just post in the chat box po yung mga guidelines na nasabi ko.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Sir JD. That's very helpful, no? Okay. So another question here. Actually, this was also a good question. The DTI team can answer. Anybody from the DTI team can answer, right? So, what if our commodities are for export? Sorry, I think na nasagot na yan. This one, um, are the requirements on how to apply listed in the website for their reference also? I don't think we are able to flash the requirements earlier, but pwede po ba nilang puntahan sa website yung listahan of the requirements needed for the application? Anybody?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I will be posting po in the chat box yung guidelines natin for the registration since well, it's also important to distinguish between the registration and authorization since it's a separate process po, no? I mean, the registration is basically a prerequisite po for securing an authorization. So separate process meaning separate requirements. So I will be posting the pertinent guidelines on that.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for also emphasizing that there are different requirements for each phase of the STMA. So better take note of that, everyone. This one is a very specific question. Sir, I'd like to ask, we have imported rockets. However, such items were defective upon testing, and we would have to export it back for repair. Do we need to secure export license? If yes, where to secure?
JD, would you like me to take that one?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, Adrian. I just wanted to ask whether that rocket system is the first thing that the exporter has to ask is whether it is covered by the NSGL. And if yes, there is a need to check right now. We have just issued what we call a general authorization. And a general authorization normally does not require application for license with the STMO. So ang requirement lang po niyan ay mag-register po kayo. And if that item, first, the item should be covered by the general authorization. Second, if the country of destination for repair, maintenance, or after repair is covered by the general authorization, then pwede na po kayong mag-export ng item na yon. So those are the things that you need to check because the general authorization was actually issued by the STMO for trade facilitation. So yun po. I hope I answered that question. Maybe JD could also, there you go, he posted the link to our general authorization. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Attorney Janice. Anybody from DTI to add additional inputs? Yeah, okay, I guess none. Yeah, I have also another question here. I think this one we need to emphasize also during this Q&A. Although we've mentioned a bit of this earlier. So the timeline for registration of with STMO, ayan. So I'd like to, everyone to anyone from DTI to help us emphasize the timelines needed in registering for with STMO. Anyone?
Well, siguro I can start now, but my colleagues are free to chime in. So, as mentioned by Ms. Weng earlier in her presentation, the SMO currently adopts a phased implementation of its activities under RA 10697. So, in 2020, we have started authorizing the export of strategic goods. But nevertheless, the SMO targets to expand its regulation of STM activities and cover the import and provision of related services such as brokering, financing, transporting, and technical assistance in the succeeding years. Import controls will be implemented last fall. So kindly take note of that. And we have also published a document. It's called the Department Administrative Order 1907 which delineates yung phase implementation natin. We will also be posting that in our chat box for ease of reference. Ayan po.
All right, thank you so much, Sir JD, for answering that question. So yeah, of course, we'd like to accommodate a lot of questions coming in the chat and also in our Q&A box, right? So, but of course, the STMO has their email and also their hotline. They also have the website available. So if you have questions, you can always reach out to their team so you can further clarify on your concerns. And also for those asking if we are all going to send a copy of this presentation, yes, so we'll be sending them via email. But if you also wanted to listen or to watch the recording of this webinar, you can invite your friends, your teammates to visit our YouTube channel so you can rewatch together the recording of this webinar for their information as well. All right, so moving on to thank you DTI team for helping us answer our questions coming in from our Q&A portion this afternoon. Next up, we'll also have some announcements coming from the Bureau of Customs, right? So I'll be turning over to Ferdy again to share a little bit of information regarding this announcement. Ferdy, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon again. Before I discuss this payment enhancement being implemented by the Bureau of Customs, just a quick note on the discussion about the STMA by the STMO office. I don't want to deal with like the sanctions or the penalties and the like, but I would like to highlight three, which is basically one on how we're going to comply. So basically one is the initial assessment. I think this is the major difficult part because it's a technical one. We need to come up with a research or refer or get an expert to analyze our product. And then on the registration, it also takes time. As I mentioned, the implementation is January. The mentioned process time for the registration is about 30 days. And then the next one would be the securing of the authorization. So the reason why we have immediately come up with this session is that for us to be able to give time to look into this matter so that we'll be able to catch up on the requirements. So I'll just briefly discuss this payment application secure system, which is the PAS-6, which was announced by the Bureau of Customs to be implemented actually October 1. This is an enhancement of the PAS-6, PAS-5 program or payment process by the Bureau of Customs. The PAS-6 basically will give the stakeholders a ability to trigger the payment even before or after the banking hours and banking days. So this would be made available 24/7, including holidays and weekends. Currently, it's only there are only about 4 banks: Security Bank, Land Bank, Asia United, and Metro Bank and Trust Company. So if you are getting your funds for the payment of duties and taxes and you are using these 4 banks currently, and you can coordinate with them whether you can enroll on this PAS-6 program so that you can avail also of the enhanced payment system. So currently, the Bureau of Customs is also working with the other banks to basically encourage all other banks or other banks to go into this PAS-6. So we will also be having a separate masterclass for this one. So just stand by and we will make an announcement. Turning you to Adrian again.
All right, thank you so much, Freddie, for sharing that information to us, right? So, yep, we'll be having also a separate masterclass online session for the PAS-6. So, please stay tuned with your account executives for the schedule and also for the registration link so you can join us on that webinar as well. All right, so that wraps up our webinar for today. But before we come to a close, so we have some prizes that we'd like to give out. So we'll be giving 5 raffle items to our participants for today. Ayan. So pinaka-aantay ng lahat. And our first winner is Jesus Allen Pilar. Ayan. Congratulations, Jesus. You are the first winner for this raffle. Okay, and on to our next winner. Si Aljon Breva. Congratulations, Aljon. 3 more left. Ayan. So, cross your fingers kaya sana kayo mabunot. Next is Katrina Tagulaw. Congratulations, Katrina, for winning. And 2 more left for our raffle prizes this afternoon. And it's been a while since we had a master class, no? So, baka na-miss yung iba. Veronica Janicia, congratulations, Veronica. And on to our last. Don't worry, I think we'll be having more master classes coming soon for everyone. So please wait for your AE's announcements. And it's Dory V. Alvarez. Congratulations, Dory V. And to all our raffle winners for this afternoon. Our masterclass team will be reaching out to you individually on how you can claim your prizes after this program. All right, congratulations. You'll be receiving a combination. I'm not sure which one it is. So it's either you get a FedEx limited edition toy truck or a limited edition phone stand. So magugulat na lang kayo, surprise na lang kayo which one are you getting of each. All right? Okay, so before we go, we also have some few announcements to share. So don't forget to tag us on your social media updates by using our official hashtag #StayHomeWeDeliver, Pinastrong, and Masterclass Online. Again, if you haven't followed us on Facebook, please do so. That's at FedEx APAC. All right. And if you want to learn more aside from listening to one of our webinars today, you can always follow and subscribe to our FedEx PH YouTube channel. So there you can find live demos of our videos on how to use our digital tools and many more. So don't forget to ring the bell button to get notified once we have released new videos on our channel. We're also uploading a recording of this webinar, so you can also invite your team or your friends to watch so they can refresh all the information shared for today's webinar. All right. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. So your feedback is very much important, especially to FedEx. No? So give us feedback from our webinar topics, our speakers, the chat buddy supporting you, the whole format of the webinar, of course, and the experience. Feel free to share them using our survey, which we'll be sending to your emails registered to this webinar. So please stay tuned and let us know on what do you think about the whole webinar experience. Okay, so that concludes our webinar for today. Once again, this is Adrian, your moderator. Thank you everyone for joining and stay safe. Have a great day, everyone.